In the early 50s, a group of civic-minded individuals in the Summit area decided that they wanted to look at how they can enable the older adults in Summit to age gracefully in the community, with special attention to health and medical care. In concept, the group was named the Summit Council on Aging. In 1954, this organization decided to found SAGE, and they called it SAGE because it stood for the Summit Association for Gerontological Endeavor. They liked that the word SAGE symbolized the quality of maturity, serenity, experience, and wisdom.
It is absolutely astonishing how the founders came up with the idea. They were reading a census report in 1951, and they saw that people were living longer lives. So then they turned around and they said, what do they need? So they looked at recreation, they looked at housing, they looked at church activities, they looked at medicine, they looked at all different things, and then they put together this huge committee which included people from all those walks of life, and then they started to really put together SAGE.
The people that founded SAGE were so far ahead in their thinking. Remember, it was the early 50s, it was after the war, the suburbs were booming, babies were being born, women were educated and staying home with their children. Men had to retire at the age of 65. So you had these brilliant people that came together and really had the insight to look at what was needed.
The first president of SAGE was the Reverend Philip Waters, who was the Reverend for Oaks Memorial Church in Summit. The churches not only gave their church women to help as volunteers, but they gave facilities for lunches, for meetings, for activities. And then many clergy people all across Summit were on the board of trustees and the advisory board to help Summit. Additionally, the Junior League and the College Club were also very important in terms of SAGE's history because they both did the survey to help SAGE focus on what was needed, and they gave grants to SAGE over the years.
SAGE began its work prior to the enactment of the Older Americans Act in 1965. In fact, in 1961, at the White House Conference on Aging, SAGE actually participated in that conference and was able to give a statement about what they were doing in this community.
This group that came together, and remember, they were all volunteers, and so what is needed out there? And right away they realized that home care or the homemaker service, that was the most important thing. Same thing with Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels was way ahead of its time. 1966, I think it might have been the second in the state, and now we have the longest running in the state. These pioneers that founded SAGE, they had a deep passion for making sure that the people that built this community were going to be able to age gracefully and be productive. For example, the workshop. The workshop was started because men, and back then it was men, they really needed some kind of activity to get together as a club almost and do something outside of the house. Another one of SAGE's earlier programs was OWL, which was basically an employment agency for older adults.
J. Walter Dietz created OWL, but first he kept insisting that there be a research and development department. He kept asking. And finally, when Carolyn Schwartz became president, they created a research and development department. And he wrote this about her when she passed away. And I think it's so indicative of SAGE. He wrote, through her efforts over and over again, unmet needs were uncovered. Then there would be conversations and friendly discussion. There were doubts. Carol's answer, let's try, let's get started. Her measuring stick was, will this develop Summit as a community in which one can age with dignity, independence, and continued service.
Just like our founders did many years ago in the 1950s, anticipating the needs of the community, SAGE continues to do that, adjusting the work that we do and responding to the call from the community. I know what a difference SAGE makes when participants stop me in the hallway and say, "Angela, I don't know what I would have done without SAGE. This has allowed me to continue my life, continue to make it through this difficult time. If SAGE wasn't here, I don't think I could do it."